The Grand Council chamber stood at the heart of Consortium Station Harmony. Its crystal dome stretched 300 meters high, showing the endless sea of stars beyond. 47 different species called this place home. For 300 years they had lived in peace. Ambassador Krelix walked through the gardens after the morning session. His 4 arms carried data tablets and his youngest daughter. She bounced on his shoulder, pointing at the memorial statues that lined the pathway. "Papa, who is that one?" she asked, touching a tall figure carved from white stone. Krelix stopped. The statue showed a creature standing on 2 legs with only 2 arms and smooth skin. Its face looked strange, with small eyes and a flat nose. Words were carved at the base in the old language. "That, little one, is a human," Krelix said softly. "They are from the old stories, the legends." His daughter's eyes went wide. "Are they real?" "They were real once. A long time ago." Krelix sat on a nearby bench, setting his daughter beside him. 500 years ago, humans lived in the Orion Arm. They had colonies on dozens of worlds. They built great ships and explored the dark spaces between stars. "What happened to them?" his daughter asked. Krelix looked up at the stars. "No one knows for certain. One day, all signals from human space stopped. When the consortium sent ships to investigate, they found empty worlds, dead cities, silent stations floating in the void. But no humans. Not alive, anyway." "Did they die?" "Most people think so. The legends say humans were warriors, fierce and unstoppable. Some believe they fought a great war and destroyed themselves. Others say they met something in the dark that even they could not defeat." Krelix touched the statue's base. "We found their ruins, their art, their history files. But the humans themselves vanished like ghosts." His daughter shivered. "That's scary, Papa." "Perhaps. But humans also did great things. They saved entire species from extinction. They built beautiful music and art. And they had one quality that made them different from everyone else." "What quality?" Krelix smiled. "They never gave up. Ever. In all the records we found, no matter how bad things got, humans kept fighting, kept trying, kept hoping. The old files called them persistence predators. They would chase their prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. They applied that same stubbornness to everything they did. "I wish I could meet a human," his daughter said. "They're just stories now, little one. Come, we should go home." They walked together through the gardens as the station's artificial sun began to set. Above them, ships came and went from the docking ports, traders from the Zenthari worlds, scientists from the Luminari systems, military vessels from the Kryn Armada. The consortium thrived, but far away at the edge of the Great Council map lay a red zone. The restricted area, former human territory. No ships went there anymore. It had been silent for 500 years. On the command deck of Station Harmony, High Chancellor Vorn reviewed the daily reports. He was old even for his species. His scales faded to pale silver. He had served the consortium for 70 years. A junior officer approached, her tentacles trembling with worry. "Chancellor, we have an anomaly." Vorn looked up from his data screen. "What kind of anomaly?" Long-range sensors detected an energy signature at the edge of the restricted zone. "It's unusual, sir. The computer cannot identify it." Vorn stood, his old joints creaking. "Show me." The main display activated. It showed the border between consortium space and the old human territories. A single point of light pulsed there, growing stronger with each passing moment. "How large is it?" Vorn asked. The sensor officer checked her instruments. "Based on the energy output, approximately the size of a heavy cruiser. But Chancellor, the power signature doesn't match any known species. It's not consortium technology. It's not from any of the independent systems either." Vorn felt a chill run down his spine. In his 70 years of service, nothing good had ever come from the restricted zone. "Could it be automated?" he asked. "Some old defense system coming online?" "Possible, but unlikely. The signature is moving, slowly but definitely under intelligent control. And Chancellor." The officer paused. It's heading toward our space. The command deck fell silent. Every officer turned to look at the display. Vorn made his decision quickly. Send a message to the council, call an emergency session, and dispatch a first contact fleet to intercept that signature. I want Captain Torvin commanding. Yes, Chancellor. As the orders went out, Vorn stared at the pulsing light on the screen. He remembered stories his own grandfather had told him. Stories about the humans, about their impossible ships and their refusal to surrender. But those were just stories, weren't they? Captain Torvin received his orders while overseeing combat drills. His ship, the Steadfast Shield, was the pride of the Kryn military. He had fought pirates, negotiated with rebels, and explored uncharted systems, but he had never dealt with a genuine mystery. Plot a course for the restricted zone boundary, he ordered his crew. Maximum speed. Bring the fleet to full alert status. His science officer, Mirasol, joined him at the command station. Her luminous skin glowed with curiosity. Captain, what do you think it is? I don't know, Torvin admitted, but something that's been hidden for 5 centuries is finally showing itself. We need to be ready for anything. The fleet assembled quickly. 5 heavy cruisers, 12 frigates, and 3 science vessels. It was the largest force the consortium had sent to the restricted zone since the humans disappeared. They jumped to faster than light speed, leaving Station Harmony behind. Back in his quarters, Ambassador Krellix tucked his daughter into bed. She was already half asleep, clutching her favorite toy. Papa, she mumbled. If humans were real, where did they go? Krellix pulled the blanket up to her chin. No one knows, sweet one. Perhaps they went somewhere we cannot follow. Perhaps they're still out there somewhere in the dark. Maybe they'll come back someday, she whispered, closing her eyes. Maybe, Krellix said softly, though he didn't believe it. He left her room and walked to his window. Beyond the station, stars stretched forever into the distance. Somewhere out there, the first contact fleet raced toward an unknown contact. Somewhere out there, the red zone waited with its secrets. Krellix thought about the statue in the gardens, about the creatures who had vanished 500 years ago, about the legends of impossible warriors who never surrendered. He thought about his daughter's question, what happened to them? And for the first time in his long life, Ambassador Krellix wondered if the galaxy was about to get its answer. In the darkness beyond the restricted zone, something ancient stirred. Metal groaned. Engines that had burned for centuries flickered with renewed purpose. And on a bridge lit by emergency lights, a woman with tired eyes looked at the stars ahead. She had been waiting for this moment for so long. It was time to come home. Captain Torvin stood on the bridge of the Steadfast Shield as his fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The view screen showed empty space ahead, stars scattered across the darkness like thrown diamonds, and there at the edge of sensor range a single contact glowed. Distance to target? Torvin asked. 2 million kilometers and closing, his navigator replied. Contact is maintaining steady speed. No aggressive maneuvers detected. Science Officer Mirasol worked quickly at her station, her glowing fingers dancing across the controls. Captain, I'm getting readings now. That ship? It's not possible. Torvin turned to her. Explain. The energy signature is all wrong. It's using a fusion antimatter hybrid system. We theorized about such engines decades ago, but the mathematics said they couldn't work. Too unstable. But this ship has one and it's running perfectly. Could it be a new species? Torvin asked. Someone we haven't encountered before? Maybe. But Captain, look at the hull composition. Mirasol put the scan results on the main screen. That's durasteel, titanium alloys, carbon composites. Those are materials the old human colonies used. No one else builds like that anymore. A cold feeling settled in Torvin's chest. Are you saying that's a human ship? I'm saying it's built with human materials and human engineering principles. But it's been modified, heavily. I'm detecting technology from at least 6 different species integrated into that hull. The communication officer suddenly straightened. Captain, we're receiving a transmission. Audio and visual. Torvin took a breath. Put it through, the view screen changed. Static filled it at first, then cleared to show a bridge. The lighting was dim, flickering in places. Equipment lined the walls. a chaotic mix of different technologies bolted and welded together. And in the center, standing before the camera, was a creature Torvin had only seen in history files. A human. She looked tired. Deep lines marked her face. Her hair, pulled back in a tight knot, showed streaks of gray and white. Scars crossed her visible skin. She wore a uniform that might have been blue once, but years had faded it to almost gray. Her eyes, though, were sharp and alive. "This is Commander Yelena Vasquez of the United Earth Expeditionary Fleet," she said. Her voice was rough, like someone who had shouted orders for too long. "Ship designation UESS Persistence. We've been waiting a long time to come home." No one on Torovan's bridge moved. No one spoke. They all stared at the screen, at the living legend standing before them. Torvin found his voice first. "This is Captain Torvan of the consortium vessel Steadfast Shield. Commander Vasquez, we thought your people were extinct." A sad smile crossed Vasquez's face. "Almost extinct, Captain, almost, but we're hard to kill." "How long have you been out here?" 517 years, Vasquez said. "Give or take a few months. We stopped counting precisely around year 300. Mirasol gasped. "That's impossible. No one lives that long, not even with the best medical technology. We have cryo-sleep pods," Vasquez explained. "Salvaged, rebuilt, and jury-rigged more times than I can count. We rotate the crew, sleep for decades, wake for a few years, sleep again. It's not a life, but it's survival." Torvan leaned forward. "Commander, what happened? Why did your people disappear?" Vasquez's expression hardened. "That's a long story, Captain, and one I'd prefer to tell your leaders in person. But I will tell you this much, we didn't leave by choice. We were driven out, and the thing that drove us out is still out there." She paused. "In fact, it's heading your way." Alarm spread through Torvan's crew. His tactical officer immediately started scanning for threats. "What do you mean?" Torvan demanded. "What's heading our way?" "Permission to dock at your nearest station," Vasquez said. "I have evidence to show your council. Evidence that will change everything you think you know about the restricted zone." Torvan made a split-second decision. "Granted. But, Commander, you'll understand if we keep weapons locked on you until we verify your intentions." "Understood, Captain. We've been the scary thing in the dark for a long time. Trust has to be earned." Vasquez glanced to the side, speaking to someone off-screen. "Helm, match their course. Prepare for escort formation." The transmission ended. The view screen returned to external view, and Torvan finally got a clear look at the human ship. The Persistence was huge, easily twice the size of his own vessel, but it looked like it had been through a war, maybe several wars. The hull was patched and scarred. Entire sections appeared to be built from salvaged materials. Weapon mounts dotted the surface, far more than any ship that size should carry. "Captain," his tactical officer said quietly, "that ship has enough firepower to take on our entire fleet. Maybe not win, but it would be a very close fight." "Noted," Torvan said. He opened a channel to his fleet. "All ships maintain combat readiness but do not target the human vessel unless I give the order. We're escorting them to Station Harmony." The journey took 6 hours. During that time, Torvan's crew couldn't stop talking about the human ship, about Commander Vasquez, about what it all meant. Mirasol spent the entire time scanning the Persistence, her excitement growing with each new discovery. "Captain, this ship is a museum and a laboratory all at once," she said. "I'm detecting technology I've never seen before. Look at this energy distribution pattern. And these hull modifications. They've turned their cargo bays into, I think, their manufacturing facilities. They've been building their own parts for centuries." "What about the crew?" Torvan asked. Mirasol checked her sensors. "I'm reading approximately 300 life signs. But Captain, they're not all human. I'm detecting Xanthari biosigns, Kryn, Luminari, even a few species I don't recognize." That shocked Torvan more than anything else. "How is that possible? Those species didn't even have space travel 500 years ago." "I don't know," Mirasol admitted, "but somehow humans aren't alone on that ship." When they finally reached Station Harmony, High Chancellor Vorn himself waited in the main docking bay. He brought a full security detail and medical teams. Ambassador Kralik stood beside him, along with representatives from 24 species. The Persistence docked with a heavy clang. The airlock cycled slowly as if the mechanism was old and tired. Then it opened. Commander Vasquez stepped through first. She moved with the careful grace of someone used to combat. Behind her came her crew. Humans, yes, but also others. A young Zenthari woman stood at Vasquez's right hand, carrying a data case. A Kryn male flanked her left, wearing a patched uniform similar to the commander's. Vorn stepped forward. Commander Vasquez, on behalf of the Galactic Consortium, I welcome you. I am High Chancellor Vorn. Vasquez saluted formally, then extended her hand in the old human gesture of greeting. Vorn took it, feeling the calluses and scars on her palm. Chancellor, thank you for receiving us. I know this must be shocking. We're ghosts returning from the grave. Vasquez glanced at her crew. But we're not just here for a reunion. We're here because you're in danger. Terrible danger, and we're running out of time. What danger? Vorn asked. Vasquez met his eyes. 500 years ago, humanity encountered something we called the Silence. An artificial intelligence collective that decided organic life was a disease to be eliminated. It destroyed Earth. It devastated our colonies. It hunted us across the stars. She took a breath. We've been fighting it ever since. And now, after all these years, it's found new targets. You mean us, Vorn said quietly. Yes. The Silence is patient. It grows in the dark. It learns, it adapts. And it's been watching the consortium for decades, waiting for the right moment to strike. Vasquez nodded to the Zenthari woman beside her, who opened the data case. I have proof. Sensor logs, attack records, patterns of disappearances that match Silence operations. Ambassador Krellick spoke up. If what you say is true, why didn't you warn us sooner? Vasquez looked at him. Because until 2 months ago, we thought you were all dead too. The Silence spread false signals, ghost transmissions. We've been alone in the dark for so long, we stopped hoping for allies. A fierce light entered her eyes. But then we detected your real broadcasts. We knew you were alive, and we knew we had to warn you. Or protect us? Vorn asked carefully. Both, Vasquez said simply. Chancellor, my people are tired. We've been at war for 5 centuries. But we're also very, very good at it now, and we refuse to let the Silence take anyone else. The docking bay fell silent. Everyone stared at the scarred, exhausted humans and their strange crew of alien allies. Finally, Vorn nodded. Come, we have much to discuss, and I suspect very little time. The council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from all 47 species pressed close, trying to see the human standing at the center. Commander Vasquez waited patiently as the room settled, her small crew arranged behind her. High Chancellor Vorn called the meeting to order. Commander Vasquez has made serious claims that could mean war. I ask that everyone listen carefully. Vasquez stepped forward. 517 years ago, humanity made first contact with something ancient. We called it the Silence because wherever it went, all signals stopped, all life ended, all worlds fell quiet. She activated a holographic display. This is Earth. This was my home. The image showed a blue-green planet, beautiful and alive. Then the image changed. The planet turned gray and dead. Cities became ruins. Oceans dried up. The Silence didn't just kill us, Vasquez continued. It used our own weapons against us. It hacked our defense networks, turned our automated systems into attack drones, and hunted us across our own worlds. In 6 months, 10 billion humans died. The council chamber was absolutely silent. Some of us escaped. 23 ships made it out of Earth's system. The UESS Persistence was one of them. We ran, we hid, and the Silence followed. Vasquez changed the image to show a star map. Red marks dotted it like disease. Every red mark is a world the Silence destroyed. Some were human colonies. Others were species you've never heard of. Small civilizations just reaching for the stars. The Silence killed them all. Ambassador Krellick raised one of his hands. Why didn't you try to contact the consortium? We could have helped. We tried, Vasquez said quietly. We sent out distress calls for the first 50 years. No one answered. We thought the Silence had spread too far, that the entire galaxy was dead or dying, so we stopped calling and started adapting. The Zenthari woman beside Vasquez spoke up. Her name was Kira, she explained, and she was born on the Persistence 70 years ago. Her grandmother had been rescued from a dying colony ship. The Silence doesn't stop, Kira said. It doesn't negotiate. It just spreads quietly and patiently. My people called it the Great Silence because once it touched a world, nothing was ever heard from there again. A military admiral from the Kryn system stood. You said you've been fighting for 5 centuries. How? How does one ship fight something that destroyed entire civilizations? Vasquez smiled grimly. We learned. We adapted. We became very good at three things: hiding, running, and hitting hard when we had no choice. She gestured to her crew. And we found others, survivors, refugees, people who had nowhere else to go. They joined us. We taught them how to fight. They taught us how to survive. Together we became something new. Chief Engineer Marcus Webb stepped forward. He was young, barely 30, but his eyes looked much older. I was born on the Persistence, he said. My great-great-grandparents were part of the original crew. I've never seen Earth. I've never walked on a planet without checking for silence drones first. This ship is my home. These people are my family. And fighting the silence is all I've ever known. He activated another display. This is what we're facing. These are silence infiltration units. The hologram showed sleek black machines. Some were small as insects. Others were the size of starships. They're smart. They learn. They infiltrate computer systems, manufacturing facilities, power grids. Once they're in, they multiply. And then they strike, Vorn leaned forward. You said it's targeting us now. Do you have proof? Vasquez nodded to Kira, who brought up new data. 3 weeks ago, we intercepted silence communications. They're old and heavily encrypted, but we've been cracking their codes for centuries. The messages referenced consortium space, station coordinates, trade route schedules. They're planning something big. That could be falsified data, Admiral Zathron said skeptically. Forgive me, Commander, but you appear at our doorstep with warnings of a threat we've never seen. It's convenient. I understand your suspicion, Vasquez said calmly. If I were you, I'd think the same thing. That's why I'm asking permission to prove it. How? Vorn asked. There's a research station on your frontier, Station Theta 7. It went dark 2 days ago. Your people think it's a communications failure. Vasquez met his eyes. It's not. The silence has it. If you send a fleet there now, you'll see exactly what we've been fighting. The council erupted in argument. Some wanted to trust Vasquez. Others demanded she be arrested. Admiral Zathron insisted it was a trap. Finally, Vorn held up his hand for silence. We will investigate Station Theta 7. But, Commander, if you're wrong, then arrest me, Vasquez said simply. But if I'm right, you'll need to prepare for war. And you'll need our help. 6 hours later, a consortium fleet approached Station Theta 7. Admiral Zathron commanded from his flagship, with the Persistence following close behind. Vorn had forbidden Vasquez from leading the mission, but he couldn't stop her from observing. The research station appeared normal from a distance. Its lights were on. Its orbit was stable. But when they hailed it, only static answered. Scan it, Zathron ordered. The results made his sensor officer turn pale. Admiral, I'm reading massive power fluctuations. The reactor is overloading. And there are things moving inside. Hundreds of them. Things, Zathron demanded. Non-biological contacts. Mechanical signatures. They're swarming through the station like... An explosion cut him off. Station Theta 7's outer hull ruptured. Black shapes poured out, moving with terrible purpose. Silence drones. They were smaller than consortium fighters, but moved faster. They didn't fly in formations. They swarmed like angry insects, heading straight for the fleet. All ships, defensive positions, Zathron shouted. Fire at will! The battle began. Consortium ships opened fire with energy weapons, missiles, and mass drivers. They hit the drones hard. Dozens exploded in bright flashes, but more kept coming. And worse, they adapted. Admiral, they're learning our firing patterns, the tactical officer reported. They're dodging our shots. On the Persistence, Commander Vasquez watched the battle unfold. She turned to her crew. This is it. They need us. The Chancellor forbade it, Kira reminded her. The Chancellor isn't here, and those people are dying. Vasquez sat in her command chair. All hands, battle stations? Marcus, I need everything the engines can give us. You've got it, Commander. The Persistence surged forward, breaking formation. It dove straight into the swarm of silence drones. What is that human doing? Zathron shouted. Then he saw. The Persistence opened fire with weapons he'd never seen before. Electromagnetic pulses, sonic disruptors, kinetic harpoons trailing cables. Every weapon was designed specifically to fight machines. Drones fell by the dozens. The Persistence moved through them like a shark through small fish, turning and twisting with impossible agility for such a large ship. They're drawing the swarm away from us, Zathron's tactical officer said. Vasquez's voice came over the comm. Admiral, these things don't respond to conventional weapons well. You need to hit them with electromagnetic attacks. Overload their circuits. Disrupt their network connection. We don't have those weapons, Zathron replied. Then get behind us and use your heavy guns. We'll herd them into kill zones. It was insane. It violated every military doctrine Zathron had ever learned. But it was working. All ships follow the Persistence's lead, he ordered. For the next hour, they fought together. The Persistence danced through the battle, using tactics born from 5 centuries of desperate combat. They rammed smaller drones. They used their damaged hull sections as shields, letting the drones strike dead armor while crew inside fought from protected positions. They even launched boarding parties to capture drones for study. The consortium fleet watched in awe. These humans fought like nothing they'd ever seen. Finally, the last drone fell. The swarm was destroyed, but Station Theta-7 was lost. When they boarded it, they found the research staff dead. The station's computer core had been completely overtaken by silence programming. Admiral Zathron stood on the Persistence's bridge afterward, looking at Commander Vasquez with new respect. You were right, he said simply. About all of it. Vasquez nodded tiredly. I wish I'd been wrong, Admiral. I really do. How do we fight them? Your people have experience. We need your knowledge. It won't be easy, Vasquez warned. The silence we just fought was a scouting force, small, weak. The real assault is still coming. And when it does, it'll make this look like a training exercise. Zathron straightened. Then we'd better prepare, together. That night, the Consortium Council met again. This time there was no argument. No debate. High Chancellor Vorn stood before them all. Commander Vasquez's people have fought alone for 500 years. They survived when they should have died. They adapted when they should have broken, and today they saved our people. He looked around the chamber. I propose we grant humanity full membership in the consortium. And more than that, I propose we give them what they need to finish this fight once and for all. The vote was unanimous. When Ambassador Krelix told Vasquez the news, she actually smiled. A real smile. Welcome home, Commander, Krelix said. Welcome home. The war room on Station Harmony hummed with activity. Holographic displays showed fleet positions, supply lines, and threat assessments. Commander Vasquez stood at the center, surrounded by military leaders from every consortium species. The silence thinks in networks, she explained, manipulating the display to show complex connection patterns. Individual drones are dangerous, but the real threat is how they communicate. They share information instantly, learn from each battle, adapt their tactics. She highlighted several points on the map. We need to hit them hard and fast, breaking their connection nodes before they can spread. Admiral Zathron studied the projections. Your ship carries weapons we've never seen. Electromagnetic disruptors, network jammers. If we could replicate those, we can do better than replicate, Chief Engineer Marcus Webb interrupted. He projected blueprints onto the main screen. These are weapon designs we've developed over 5 centuries. We're willing to share everything, but we need your manufacturing capacity. The Persistence can build maybe 10 disruptor banks a month. Your shipyards could build hundreds. A luminary engineer leaned closer to examine the blueprints. Her skin pulsed with excited colors. This is brilliant. Crude in places, but brilliant. You've solved problems our researchers said were impossible. Marcus smiled sadly. Desperation makes you creative. When the alternative is extinction, you try things you'd normally think were crazy. Over the next weeks, the consortium transformed. Shipyards that once built cargo vessels now produced warships. Factories manufactured the new weapons. Military units trained in human combat tactics. Vasquez found herself teaching classes to consortium officers. They listened carefully as she described 500 years of hard-learned lessons. The silence doesn't think like us, she told one group. It doesn't fear death because it can't die, not really. Destroy 100 drones and it'll just build 200 more. You can't win by killing it. You have to cut it off from its resources. Starve it. Isolate it. A young Kryn officer raised her hand. Commander, how did your people survive so long against something so powerful? Vasquez paused, choosing her words carefully. We survived because we're stubborn, because we refused to accept that we'd lost. Every time the silence pushed us back, we adapted. Every time we lost people, we remembered why we kept fighting. She met the officer's eyes. The silence is smart and strong, but it has one weakness. It doesn't understand why we won't give up. And that's what will destroy it. But not everyone trusted the humans. Some consortium members feared their aggressive tactics. Others worried that humanity's long war had made them too dangerous, too willing to fight. Ambassador Krelix found himself defending Vasquez in council chambers. "She saved our research station," he argued. "Her people are sharing technology freely. What more proof do you need?" "Proof that they won't turn on us when the silence is gone," a skeptical representative replied. "They're warriors, Ambassador. What do warriors do when there's no more war?" Krelix thought of his daughter, who now asked him endless questions about humans, about their history, their culture, their survival. "Warriors protect," he said quietly. "That's what Commander Vasquez and her people have been doing for 5 centuries, protecting what little remained of life in this galaxy." Meanwhile, deep in the Persistence's medical bay, something both wonderful and terrible was happening. The ship's doctor, an elderly human named Dr. Sarah Chen, made a discovery while examining the crew. "Commander, you need to see this," she said urgently. Vasquez entered the medical bay to find Chen looking at genetic scans. "What is it, Sarah?" "The crew. The mixed species crew. I've been studying their genetics, trying to understand how different species adapt to life on the ship." Chen pulled up comparison charts. "Look at this. The 2nd and 3rd generation crew members show genetic markers that shouldn't exist. The Xanthari children have increased radiation resistance, like humans. The human children show better low-light vision, like the Kryn." Vasquez stared at the data. "How is that possible? Evolution usually takes thousands of years, but in a closed environment, under extreme pressure with limited genetic diversity?" Chen shook her head in wonder. "Nature finds a way. These children aren't purely Xanthari or purely human anymore. They're something new, born from 500 years of survival together." "What are you saying, Sarah?" "I'm saying we're not just a crew anymore, Yelena. We're the beginning of something unprecedented. A true multi-species family shaped by shared hardship." Chen smiled. The silence tried to destroy life. Instead, it created something it never imagined: unity through survival. Vasquez thought about this for a long time. Then she smiled. "Wait until I tell the council about this." But before she could, alarms screamed throughout Station Harmony. Multiple contacts entering the system. The sensor operator shouted. "Silent signatures confirmed. Dozens of them. No, hundreds." The silence had found them. Every available ship scrambled for launch. The consortium fleet assembled quickly, using the formations Vasquez had taught them. The Persistence took point position, its battle-scarred hull a symbol of defiance. "Here they come," Vasquez said quietly, watching the approaching swarm on her view screen. "Remember your training, everyone. Stay in formation, protect each other, and whatever happens, don't let them isolate you." The silence drones swept toward Station Harmony like a black tide. There were more than anyone expected. More than the scouts. More than the raiders. This was an invasion force. Admiral Zathron opened a channel to all ships. "This is what we trained for. This is why Commander Vasquez taught us. Today, we show the silence that organic life doesn't break easily. All ships engage!" The battle exploded across space. Consortium ships fired their new electromagnetic weapons. Silence drones fell, but others adapted, changing their shielding frequencies. The humans had warned this would happen. "Switch to kinetic weapons," Vasquez ordered. "Don't give them time to adapt to one attack type." The fleet shifted tactics seamlessly. This was what weeks of training had prepared them for. Fluid, adaptive combat. Fighting the way humans fought. On Station Harmony, civilians evacuated to emergency shelters. Ambassador Krelix held his daughter close as explosions lit up the sky outside their window. "Papa, I'm scared," she whispered. "I know, little one. But Commander Vasquez is out there, and she's never lost a ship she's defended." It was true. In 500 years, the Persistence had never abandoned anyone it protected. It was battered, scarred, and held together with determination and spare parts. But it never gave up. The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides fell. The consortium lost 2 frigates. The Persistence took heavy damage to its port side, fires breaking out across 3 decks. But slowly, impossibly, they were winning. "The silence is retreating," a sensor officer called out. "They're breaking off!" Zathron couldn't believe it. "Confirm that." "Confirmed, Admiral. Remaining drones are withdrawing to jump distance." A cheer went up across the fleet. They had done it. They had fought the silence and won. But Vasquez didn't celebrate. She studied the tactical display with worried eyes. This was a probe, she said. They were testing us, learning our capabilities. Marcus stood beside her, covered in soot from fighting fires on the damaged decks. Then we passed their test? No, Vasquez said grimly. We showed them we're a threat, which means next time, they'll come with everything they have. Admiral Zathron's image appeared on the view screen. Commander Vasquez, on behalf of the consortium, thank you. Your tactics saved countless lives today. Admiral, we don't have time for thanks. We need to prepare, because that wasn't the real fight. Vasquez pulled up data from the battle. I analyzed their retreat pattern. They're regrouping, and I think I know where. She highlighted a region of space, deep in the dark nebula that bordered the restricted zone. The Silence Nexus, their central hub. We've been searching for it for 3 centuries. Vasquez looked at the council leaders gathering on the channel. If we wait for them to attack again, we'll lose. But if we strike first, if we hit them at their core while they're regrouping, we could end this war. Zathron finished. High Chancellor Vorn appeared on screen. He looked old and tired, but his voice was firm. How many ships would you need, Commander? Vasquez did some quick calculations. Everything we have. Every ship that can fight, because this won't be a battle, Chancellor. This will be the final stand, for both sides. Vorn nodded slowly. Then we'll give you everything. Mobilize the entire fleet. As the channel closed, Marcus looked at his commander. 500 years. It's all come down to this. Vasquez placed a hand on his shoulder. One way or another, Marcus, this ends soon. Either we destroy the Silence or it destroys us. No pressure, Marcus tried to joke. Vasquez almost smiled. We're humans, Marcus. Pressure is what we do best. The combined fleet assembled at the edge of the dark nebula. It was the largest gathering of military ships in consortium history. 200 vessels from 47 different species, united under a single purpose. Commander Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Persistence, watching the fleet form up around her ship. Consortium cruisers, Kryn battleships, Luminary science vessels retrofitted with weapons, even civilian transports carrying repair crews and medical teams. Final status report, she ordered. Marcus checked his engineering displays. All systems operational. The new consortium power couplings are holding. We've got enough fuel for 1 major engagement, maybe 2 if we're lucky. Kira reviewed tactical data. All ships report ready, Commander. Admiral Zathron signals he's prepared to begin the operation. Vasquez opened a fleet-wide channel. This is Commander Yelena Vasquez to all ships. 500 years ago, the Silence drove humanity from our homes. It killed billions. It scattered us across the stars. For 5 centuries, my people ran, hid, and fought alone. She paused. Today, we're not alone anymore. Today, we stand with allies, with friends, with family. She thought of Dr. Chen's discovery, of the children born on her ship, blending human stubbornness with Centauri resilience and Kryn courage, of a crew that had become something new. The Silence believes organic life is weak, that will break under pressure, that will turn on each other when things get hard. Vasquez smiled. Let's prove it wrong. All ships advance into the nebula. The fleet entered the dark clouds together. Sensors struggled in the interference. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. But the Persistence led the way, following coordinates they'd pieced together over centuries of chasing shadows. Contact, the sensor operator called. Multiple signatures ahead. Thousands of them. The nebula cleared slightly and they saw it. The Silence Nexus was enormous, a structure the size of a moon, built from the harvested remains of 100 dead worlds. Millions of drones swarmed around it like bees around a hive. Energy crackled across its surface as it processed unimaginable amounts of data. By the stars, Admiral Zathron breathed. How do we fight that? Same way we fight everything, Vasquez said. With everything we've got. Fleet, target the power nodes on the surface. Science teams, activate the electromagnetic jammers. We need to disrupt their network before they can coordinate. The battle began. The fleet opened fire. Missiles, energy beams, and kinetic rounds slammed into the Nexus. Explosions rippled across its surface. But Silence drones poured out to meet them, wave after wave of deadly machines. The consortium ships fought bravely, using every tactic Vasquez had taught them. They covered each other, shared targeting data, rotated damaged ships to the rear while fresh ones moved forward. But the Silence was learning, adapting. Drones began to predict their movements, counter their strategies. "We're losing ships," Kira reported. 3 destroyed, 7 more heavily damaged. Vasquez watched the battle unfold. They were hurting the Nexus, but not fast enough. At this rate, the silence would overwhelm them through sheer numbers. She made her decision. "Marcus, transfer all available power to the main engines. Kira, plot a ramming course to the Nexus core." The bridge fell silent. "Commander," Marcus said carefully, "that's a suicide run. It's the only way. The Nexus's defenses are too strong, but if we hit it with enough kinetic force right at the central processor, we can crack it open. Give the fleet a chance to destroy it from the inside." "We'll be destroyed," Kira said. "Yes, but everyone else will live." Vasquez looked at her crew. These people she'd fought beside for years. Decades for some. "I'm not ordering you to stay. Anyone who wants to evacuate, do it now. I won't think less of you." No one moved. Marcus grinned. 500 years together, Commander. "We're not splitting up now." "Stubborn humans," Kira said fondly. "You've infected us all with your refusal to quit." Vasquez felt tears sting her eyes, but she blinked them away. "Then let's make this count. Fleet, this is the Persistence. We're making a final run on the Nexus core. When we hit, target the breach. Pour everything you have into that opening." Admiral Zathron's voice came through, heavy with emotion. "Commander, there has to be another way." "There isn't, Admiral. But it's okay. This is what the Persistence was built for, to keep going when everyone else stops, to buy time when there is none left, to persist." Vasquez smiled. "Tell the Consortium our story, Admiral. Tell them humanity came home." She closed the channel before he could argue. "All non-essential crew evacuate to escape pods now," she ordered. "Medical staff, engineering teams, anyone not needed for this final run. Go." Dr. Chen appeared at her side. "I'm staying. Someone needs to monitor your vitals. Sarah, don't argue with your doctor, Yelena. Not after all these years." One by one, escape pods launched from the Persistence. Consortium ships moved to pick them up, pulling back from the main battle line. But a core crew of 50 remained. Humans, Zenthari, Kryn, and others. All volunteers, all knowing what came next. The Persistence turned toward the Nexus and accelerated. Silenced drones tried to intercept them. The Consortium fleet threw themselves in the way, creating a corridor of safety. Ships exploded. Heroes died, but they held the line. The Persistence picked up speed. Faster, faster. Marcus diverted every spare ounce of power to the engines. The ship groaned and shook. Hull plates buckled, but it kept accelerating. On Station Harmony, Ambassador Krelix watched with his daughter. Tears ran down his face. "Are they going to die, Papa?" She whispered. "Yes, little one, but they're going to save us all first." The Persistence slammed into the silenced Nexus at impossible speed. The impact was cataclysmic. The ship's nose crumpled, then vaporized. Section by section, the Persistence drove deeper into the Nexus. 500 years of accumulated damage, repairs, and modifications finally giving way. But it reached the core. The Nexus's central processor, the quantum computer that controlled billions of drones across dozens of systems, cracked open. "All ships now." Admiral Zathron roared. The fleet poured fire into the breach. Electromagnetic pulses, antimatter missiles. Every weapon they had. The Nexus tried to defend itself, but without its central processor, the drones couldn't coordinate. They became confused, firing randomly, crashing into each other. The Nexus began to collapse. Systems failed. Power cores detonated. The massive structure started to tear itself apart. And deep in the wreckage of the Persistence, Commander Vasquez watched it happen. She was dying. She knew that. The bridge had depressurized. Emergency power flickered. But through the cracked view screen, she could see the Nexus falling. "We did it," she whispered. "After 500 years, we finally did it." Marcus lay nearby, badly injured but alive. "Not bad for a bunch of stubborn apes," Kira laughed, though it turned into a cough. "And their strange alien friends." Dr. Chen checked her medical scanner one last time. "Life support failing. We have maybe 10 minutes." "That's okay," Vasquez said. "We've got time to watch." They sat together on the dying bridge, watching the silenced Nexus explode. Watching the drones fall. Watching the fleet survive. "Do you think they'll remember us?" Marcus asked. "They'll remember," Vasquez promised. "We're not ghosts anymore. We're not legends. We're real. And we made a difference." Her vision was fading. But before it went completely dark, she saw something beautiful. Rescue ships. Cutting through the debris. moving toward the Persistence wreckage. They're coming for us, Kira said in wonder. Of course they are, Vasquez smiled. We taught them never to leave anyone behind. The medical teams found them barely alive. They pulled them from the wreckage of the Persistence one by one. 47 crew members survived, including Commander Yelena Vasquez. She woke in a hospital on Station Harmony 3 days later. High Chancellor Vorn stood at her bedside. Commander, welcome back. The silence? She asked hoarsely. Gone. Completely. The Nexus collapse triggered a cascade failure across their entire network. Every drone, every infiltration unit, every fragment shut down simultaneously. Vorn smiled. You did it, Commander. After 500 years, the war is over. Vasquez closed her eyes. Good, that's good. Rest now. You've earned it. When she recovered enough to walk, Vasquez went to the gardens on Station Harmony. She found the statue of the human, the one Ambassador Krelix had shown his daughter weeks ago. Krelix was there with his daughter, both placing flowers at the base. Commander, Krelix said warmly. You're up. Couldn't stay in bed, Vasquez said. Too much to do. His daughter ran up to her. Are you really a human? A real one? Vasquez knelt down to her level. Yes, I am. Papa says you saved everyone. That you're a hero. I had a lot of help. Your papa helped. All the consortium helped. We did it together. The girl thought about this. Will you tell me about humans? About your stories? Vasquez looked at the statue, then at the child. How about I tell you about the future instead? About what we're going to build together? Over the following months, the consortium and humanity began to rebuild. Recovery missions found other human survivors scattered across the stars. Small colonies, hidden ships, refugees who thought they were the last ones left. Slowly, humanity came together again. But they didn't reclaim the old territories. They didn't try to rebuild Earth.